Well, I think we're live. Yes, we are. All right, I just have to confirm this. It's a little more difficult today because I'm working in a remote office on Martha's Vineyard, and I don't have my multi-screen setup. So, I'm assuming I'm live. I know I'm live. All right. We'll go there. We go to live events. And I am live. There it is. Says live now. Now! I know I'm live! All right, now we have to switch over to this so you can see this. So I've been getting a lot of questions about the way that we're presenting signals in the Bitcoin PatternCast service. And the biggest question is, how come there are no entries? How can I tell if you guys are actually doing something or making good signals? Or what's the objective performance if I don't know where you get in and where you get out? And I'm here to tell you that any service that's telling you where to get in and where to get out is doing you a disservice because they don't know. How many times have you taken a signal and it's gone against you? I'm going to venture to guess probably 90% of the time. How many of those opportunities went against you enough where you had to get out because you got stopped out? Only later on for it to turn around and do exactly what you thought it was going to do in the first place because you had a good read that we were about to go in a particular direction. You just couldn't figure out what the time frame was. That happens more often than not. I know that it's happened to every single one of you. So the idea that people who have signal services or automated systems or systematic trades or TA, that they know where a trade is going to start and where it's going to end is total bull. They don't know. They have no friggin' idea. And that's just a fact. So let me tell you what PatternCast does in the Bitcoin service. And this is about as objective as you can get. And you can do whatever you want with the information when you get these signals, understanding that this is what it does. It looks for patterns and it sees patterns. Patterns that you can't see. Patterns that may not be described in your favorite TA book or website, of which hardly any of them ever give you more than a coin flip. It sees patterns that are forming and then is able to look at how often that they have occurred in the past, how they've formed. It's kind of like weather reporting. And then seeing the resultant move after that pattern has revealed itself. And then it records them. And it looks for multiple instances of this. And it looks for how many times it moved down or up, and in what percentages and to what extent. And then it reports back to us a median move, either up or down. So we're looking at both the bullish and bearish case of all these patterns. And then from that, certain patterns will emerge that, wow, you look at this one, it happened, say, 30 times, and out of 30 times, 25% of the time it moved down on average, say 400, 500, 1,200 points. All right? So we get that information. It doesn't tell us what level or where we went in or where we get out or anything like that because it has no idea. All these things happened in the past. And those levels are inconsequential. All it saw was the pattern, how it's set up. It happened many times in the past. Now I want you to tell me of all these patterns that you see, head and shoulder, bull flag, pennant, whatever, tell me, or MACD cross or anything, tell me what the statistical variance, the statistical mean average of that occurrence happening under those same conditions, and what the average move is. Can you tell me that? I am asking parenthetically, I am asking hypothetically, I am telling you right now that you cannot. And you have no idea, other than some guy in some book telling you that try this pattern, it works. Yet, with that specific setup in that particular asset, you have no idea if that worked in the past. None whatsoever. Well, this is exactly what PatternCast does. It does know that the pattern setting up did happen in the past multiple times, and that it moved either up or down a specific amount on average across all those occurrences. And then that is the signal. That's what we present to people. Now, what you do with that is up to you. I look at it as an opportunity. But people are saying, but if you don't give us an entry and an exit, how can we determine what your performance is? Well, the performance is gauged by this. How many times do we get the direction right? And to what extent do we hit that target? Do we hit it 25% of the target? Did we get 50, 100, 200%, 1,000% of the target? That's what we report. And I can tell you this, that of all the PatternCast trades, again, we also have, there's another limitation. We have a 4-day window that it happens. If it doesn't happen within that 4-day window, we say adios. Within a 4-day window, all PatternCast signals that we put out, 96% of them have at least a profitable end. In other words, they ended up somewhere in profitability. Whether that's 1% or 100%, we don't know. 96% of them. So we know that if you just took the trades and cut it off at 4 days, then, you would be profitable pretty much. Or at least 96% of the time. The losers are very, very small in comparison. 70% of the time, that signal will reach 70% of the stated target value. All right? 65% of the time, it will reach the target or exceed it on average by 200%. Well, actually, it's 185%. All right, so all we can give you is a starting point, and our starting point with Bitcoin is the previous close. All right, so we're not even giving you a TA level or anything. We're just saying the previous close. With Bitcoin, it's very different from other assets like futures and Forex and equities because they don't move that much. And so we can be a little bit more precise about an entry point or about a close or whatever, about a starting point. So we do that. With Bitcoin, the moves are much larger. Volatility is orders of magnitude more. So we just state the previous close as your starting point. In general. Sometimes we might state a specific entry, it doesn't matter. So if we were to take the last call, the last one that I posted, either on YouTube or on Instagram or other places, then it would look like this. This is a visualization of that call. We said, actually in this particular case, that 10,742 isn't correct. The previous close was 10,340. All right, and we said that it would move down to the 4-day target of 9,540. So this is what that's telling us. What that is telling us, and it did that 18 out of 28 times. or 64% of the time. To me, that's not a terribly strong signal, or that's not a high percentage. Many of our calls are in the 80 to 90% range, but it's still a positive. And anything over around 65% or better, we're going to report it as better than a coin flip. But it also moved a pretty good amount from 10,342. So that's a mistake right there. I should have edited that. From 10,342 to 9,542, or about 800 points. That's about 9%. That is huge compared to a Forex or an equity. 3, 4, 5 times as much on average. So we're saying that there's a potential for this to move a great deal over the next 4 days. Are we saying that it's going to happen one time? Or it's going to go between these things and these things because of this particular pattern? We don't know. We have no idea. Many times it will move down and hit that target, or move down and go 50% of the target 2, 3 times, and then go to the target or go beyond. Sometimes it will hit the target and come all the way back and then go 50% of the target. That is the nature of volatility, and that's the way things work in this world. That is how these signals, or that's how PatternCast sees the world. That's how most people who are trading in a professional environment see the world. We know that there's volatility. We know that there is a potential for movement, and that it's going to either be biased to the downside or to the upside. And we know that there is an edge on one of those sides, or there is no edge. So what this call is telling us is that there is an edge to the downside, that it is basically net short about 65% of the time, and that on average, it has moved 800 points. All right? So for me, what happened was, I get the signal the next day. I don't just jump right into these signals because who knows what they're going to do. And I always start off with a small position. In particular, I'm in a very, very small position right now. I woke up the next day. I saw the signal. I entered at 10,742. All right. So right now I'm up about 80 points because right now it's 10,662. I entered with a small position. I may enter it again and maybe again once I feel like this pattern is playing itself out. We're 2 days into the trade. And if it keeps on going down, I may continue to enter. And if I realize the full amount, I'm going to make some really good profit. If it pulls back, I might enter again with a slightly larger position size. So that first position size might be, 1/5 or 1/6 my total position size, my full size position. So I always start off with a small position, get in, and look, if it moves all the way down and it's a small position, I make some profit, I'm happy. But you might say, but I could have had a full position. I could have made so much money. All I know is that PatternCast will give me one of these opportunities like once every few days. And in Bitcoin, so I'm making 3-4 trades a week. And 96% of them are ending up positive. Not all of them are moving that full amount. A certain percentage of them are moving at least to the target or more. A smaller percentage of them, say 25% of them, are hitting 50% of the target, or 90, something like those that hit 25% of the target hit that like 90% of the time. How would you like those kind of odds? So imagine in this particular trade, 25% of the target would be about 200 points. And 90% of the time, on average, I'm just saying that these are the stats that we have, you would hit that 20% or 25% of that trade. Man, I'd take that all day. I would take that all day. Let's see, how many people are on right now? There's 15 people on. No one wants to hear how to actually trade. No one thinks that they are a newbie. No one thinks that someone else has a better way to look at markets. They think that the traditional way is the way you look at it. You got to have an entry, a stop, risk management. How else can you know what you're doing? Yet, these are the people that are losing 90% of the time. I don't know what to say. Well, I do know what to say. I think I've described fairly well what PatternCast is, how it works, what the opportunity is that is presented in front of you. 3-4 times a week, we're going to provide you with an opportunity in Bitcoin to profit. There's going to be a better than 90% chance for profiting. Better than 90%, to some extent. 70% of the time, you're going to hit 70% of the target. 65% of the time, you're going to hit the target. Actually, 65% of the time, on average, you'll hit 180% of the target. I think it's if you hit 25% of the target, like 90% of the time. Those are incredible odds or statistics. And that's what we've measured. And that's actually in the traditional PatternCast, looking at futures, forex, and stocks, which have far less volatility. With this increased volatility, what we've seen is that those numbers go way up. We expect to do way better with Bitcoin in terms of overall performance and percent of hitting targets, the amount of the target that we hit, how often we hit it, because of that increased volatility. That is a true edge. How do you trade it? Do you need to be held by the hand and told where to get in and where to get out? If that's you, if you think that that is not for newbie traders, you couldn't be more wrong. See, the problem is that is what most experienced traders, well, they're experienced mostly at losing, because they cannot get their head outside of their box. All right. That's pretty much all I have to say. If you find this useful, that's great. If you don't, then hit the dislike button. Otherwise, go down, hit that like button, share this video out there. The deal that we currently have with the Bitcoin signals ends when I get back on vacation or from vacation on September 1st. I don't think you're going to find anywhere a better way or a better opportunity to profit, period. Bar none. Well, with the exception of our regular PatternCast service, if you choose to trade forex, futures, and stocks. But for Bitcoin, no way. This is the best system that I have ever seen. This has been in at least 10 years in development. Its use goes way beyond just trading too. It is a pattern recognition engine that we found can be applied to a whole range of things. We love trading, so this is how we're introducing it to the world, and it is an unbelievable system. It truly gives you an edge because it's everything. It's based on statistical probability, on actual measurements of previous moves, and then reporting back in a very, very concise way how often those things have moved that much. And so what I'm saying is that the traditional way of trading is dead. How do I know it? It's been dead for a long time. I've been in this business for a long time, helping the brokers develop this narrative that was designed not to make you successful, but to make you put more transactions into their coffers. But this is completely aside and an affront to the broker narrative. This is actually giving you real opportunity, a real edge, and a way to profit not once on a trade, but possibly 2 times, 3 times, 5 times on the same trade, on the same signal. And again, as I said, the deal is good until September 1st. Go to the link below. I'm out of here. We'll see you next video.